Yeah, you can see? Okay. Okay, this presentation about the project called iMagine, and it's about artificial intelligence, especially for imaging, and then from macro to micro. So we look at, say, satellite images up to microscopic images, and everything in between could be a topic which can lead to a use case. Now, first of all, let's say there's a little bit of a relation here with, of course, with all the data that we are collecting. And we say, well, there are a lot of infrastructure already, I say, for the normal data, we call it, but there's hardly anything for image data. And that's why in this project, we are developing more capabilities in analytics for imaging, but also we look a little bit at how to store that data and make it available for others to use. Strange this. Sorry, but it's all micro here. What I have to make it a little bit bigger. Because okay, that's okay. Let's say what we did in this project. Let's say we first of all, there's already quite some work done by colleagues from Spanish and also German institutes, and they developed a lot of, let's say, a workbench to develop, to test, and to deploy analytical services, AI services for images. And we make use of this workbench, and we let's say we make it fit for use cases, especially in the aquatic community. And therefore, we also develop what we call a portfolio of use cases, and we also have open calls to extend that portfolio. And in there, we set up prototype use cases, but also we go from some prototypes to mature use cases. So we look at so-called technical readiness levels that we want to make them higher. And also from this, we want to derive best practices or better practices or let's say less mature practices. But anyway, we want to derive, let's say, a learning curve, which we then can also, let's say, populate in the systems that we heard about today. And this way bring over this experience also to others who want to adopt the same principles. And finally, we have this workbench. The workbench is being supported by resources from EGI, which is the European Grid Association. And they are also, we have a certain amount, let's say a certain number of resources in GPUs, in CPUs, in storage. And that can be used also for others who want to work with this. And that's for now, of course, during the length of the project, but at the same time we're looking how we can connect this workbench as part of, for instance, the Blue Cloud, so that we can continue and have, let's say, a longer perspective for this platform. Now we have 4 national computing centers. That's for EGI. Let's say they support us in the back end, the infrastructure. Then we have a number of institutes which are really in the AI and machine learning developments. And then we have several research institutes which are involved in the use cases. And a lot of them, they make use, let's say, data or are related to certain research infrastructures. So that's a little bit the landscape. And my role in this case, let's say I'm not a technical coordinator, which I normally am, but this is not the field where I am an expert. But I'm in this case more a scientific coordinator, just to try to get the portfolio together of all the use cases and make the connections with our community. So we have one for aquatic litter drones, and that's, let's say we have drones, a German institute. They collect by drone images on the beach, and then you can use those images, of course, to identify and classify, because that's all the time what we do. We have an image, and you do identify, classify, try to separate objects, and then try to classify those objects following certain, let's say, standards. Another one is SUSCAN Ecutaxa. That's for the Sorbonne University. And that's what they say microscopic. And they do taxonomic identification. Then we have the marine ecosystem monitoring. And there are 3 EMSO sites which we are in the project. And you have seen already a presentation earlier on EMSO Ops with the fish detection, our colleagues from Spain. And that's also one of the examples that we use a lot, because it's very easy, let's say, to understand what in fact is happening, and very illustrative of the work in the project. There have another one is with CMCC, and that's for oil spill detection, so using satellite information. And there's another one which is called FlowCam phytoplankton, which is a little bit comparable to the SUSCAN Ecutaxa pipeline, but they do something different, but it's quite comparable in the same aligned. And then we have a couple of what we call prototypes, because all these 5 that you saw, they were already quite mature. But in the project, they are going to a higher level to be more, in fact, to become operational. And that's the challenge in the project. But we also have some really prototypes that we don't expect them to become mature, but it's try out with groups and bring them further. One is for underwater noise, which is also a very important indicator. So if you look a little bit at the portfolio so far, it's quite following the MSFD, let's say the indicators. We try to get different examples. Then we have the beach monitoring, and another one. And that's done with beach cameras, and also looking at, let's say, the Posidonia, the detection. And then we have freshwater diatoms identification, which with microscopes again. And recently we had some open calls, and from this we have one group that wants to study the satellite-derived bathymetry, and using, again, let's say, the images, let's say, from satellites. Another one, improving knowledge about cold water coral reef. And finally, we have now one which is looking at fish otoliths, and there are little bones, let's say, in a fish, and from this you can derive the age of the fish. And it's all quite interesting, because a lot of these things are being done already for a long time, but by manual intervention. And there was a little bit what Sebastian was explaining. We try to use the AI to speed up the process, make it more efficient, and also maybe more consistent, because humans can also have a bad day and a good day. We know that. Machines have that less, I think. Okay, so we go from data to knowledge, and that's of course the whole principle of why we collect data. And we have this iMagine AI platform, which is then available supported by the cloud, and we have these use cases, deployment. And then there is already a marketplace, and the marketplace is open for the iMagine. And you can find, on this marketplace, you can find the methods and the principles, but you also find the use cases and also documentation, let's say best practice documentation about the use cases. And this is an ongoing work. It's also connected to the AI for EOSC, which is, let's say, a larger initiative by the Commission, and it's the same technology is behind. And also, in fact, the same research group who developed the workbench is also behind AI for EOSC. In this sense, there are now 2 or 3 projects working in parallel on the same platform, more or less. But we are especially going for the marine application. Let's go a little bit further. Another thing that we want to do, because we are looking for best practice, is also we want so-called synergy between the different use cases, and therefore we have a competence center approach. That means, in practice it's work package 3, but we call it competence center. That means there are every month meetings where all the use cases explain their progress, and then, in fact, they learn from each other, and we also have, I would say, a little bit a teacher, like Valentin, Kozlov is a little bit acting as a teacher, because he is very experienced in this domain, and he helps the use cases in a technical sense, and also in just to bring it further, and also, of course, to help them to get more acquainted with the platform and the principles of the platform. And at the same time, the use cases, they report back the progress, and that, of course, gives insights and also requirements for improvement. And in that sense, it's a very nice synergy, and you get from this best practices during the project. Now we have done key exploitable results, because nowadays, of course, in all the European projects we talk about curves. You have to make something which is worthwhile to continue and to exploit. One is, of course, the framework itself and the computing platform. Secondly, we have these 5 operational cases and the 3 prototypes, and they are now expanded with some new prototypes from the calls. And finally, we have these best practices, which we will open it up for a wider audience, let's say, to adapt and adopt. We have some preliminary results, and that's the use case. Our friends over there, they're smiling, because this is, we use it everywhere, but you have already heard their presentation, so I will not go deeper. But we have some lessons learned, is that, of course, the labeling is very important, the data preparation, because without a training database, let's say, you can't get good results, and that's very laborsome to do that, effort intensive. We need more metadata, because we want to, some provenance, let's say, we keep good metadata and also of the labels, label data sets. We need high quality open source AI models, they exist, so there are several, like YOLO V8 or YOLO V9 nowadays. Let's say there are several of these models already on the market. They're open source and you can use them. And some of them are very good results. And Then you have regular knowledge exchange is important. That means that we work together with this competence center, as already said. And finally, we also are looking at, say, how we can bring two things, in fact. Let's say one is that we have these resources, but it's more the computing, let's say the GPUs. Because in the beginning we made a mistake. We had the GPU, we had a certain resource, but then there was not, let's say, an obvious button to switch off the GPU when you were not using it. And then in the first months of the project, the GPU time simply went on without use, in fact, but it was, the resource was gone because it was not, and therefore, luckily the provider said, I do it like this over my heart and I give you another volume, because otherwise the project was already, let's say, almost everything was gone. Finally, let's say, what's also important is then, let's say, the fact that we have this best practice coming out, which we can share with the community. There is an open call. It's again open, because it's in fact a continuous open. So if you're interested, you have a subject, you say, I need some computing, I want to try it out, then you can make an application. Application is very simple. We have a steering board every month, and then if there's an application, we check it, and we do a small review, and if we like it, we say we do an interview with the people that proposed. If that clicks, and then we continue. Important is, when you make a call, that you really have the time yourself, let's say, then to work on it, because it's not that you can give us something and we do it for you. It's really, there is a workbench. You will then be part of the competence center, so people help you to set up your case. But you have to do all the groundwork yourself, and also it helps, of course, if you already have the data for your training database. Let's say you can still do labeling, but you must have already a very good database to start with. And that has, from the experience, let's say it must be quite a large database, because then you get much better results, and you can also do calibration afterwards. So okay, thank you for listening to me.
A very nice presentation again.
You're welcome.
I hope there are some questions. I'm looking for a specific person to ask a question, otherwise I would ask that question.
If they're too technical, I look at my colleagues from Spain. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, hi.
For you first? No.
Yeah, I was wondering, so the output of these AI models for fishes, I'm supposing like at some point all these detections will go into like some tabular format. Are you planning to put it in Darwin Core, submit to IMONet Biology? Is there future plans for that?
Now there are two, let's say, if we look at data, let's say this, first of all we have the training data sets, and those are being published right now in Zenodo. Because we have also an iMagine community on Zenodo where all the deliverables of the project are available. And also then, let's say, the training data sets, the labeled data sets. Secondly, we have asked all the use cases, the mature ones, to make a sort of business plan, how they see going to production. And that includes also, let's say, the input and the output data that they're going to generate by using the algorithms. And that's, it's a little bit, let's say, we are now just finalizing the deliverable, where everybody tells how they want to manage more the results, if they want them also publish them as a Zenodo, or that you say it's just let's say a repository, and every user has his own part of that repository. But that's the use data, let's say. But the training data sets, they are really documented, and they are on Zenodo, and we are also working now with Zenodo on, because Zenodo itself is a little bit, let's say, oriented towards paper publications, let's call it like this, the format, and we are now working together with Zenodo on a Zen project to make a more dedicated data collection format, which will be a DCAT format. And that's very interesting, because the Zenodo group says we really want to, help you, and for them they see it as an enrichment of the Zenodo capabilities. And they have also a project, in fact, Zen. And I like Zen. I want to be feel Zen. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I'm a little bit joking, but you know what I mean. End of the day. Good. Anybody else? Yeah. Mark, go ahead.
Well, especially in the last thing you were saying, that there's again a bridge to make to linked open data and RDF.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
basically, in the application of the technique called fair signposting, because you're dealing with images, and when you have the link directly to the image, fair signposting will allow you to link to the metadata. And that's really something I would, recommend looking
in this
into.
case, let's say, in this case, we are not going to the one-to-one, let's say, the metadata, but we talk about the collection as a whole. So it's, let's say, it's a package, and the package is being documented in the format that we are right now developing together with Zenodo. It's not yet the one-to-one metadata of each individual image, let's say. That's not what we are, you understand?
Yeah, maybe we have to take it offline. But
Offline, okay, we do it
Yeah,
offline.
yeah.
Good. Okay.
But you have a very valid point here. How do you connect the classification to the original images? So let's take that offline.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay, then.
Thanks again, Dick.
And thank you for listening the whole day to me, okay?